Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. Tensions continue to rise between the U.S. and Russia. This time, a downed U.S. military drone over the Black Sea was blamed on Russian fighter jets. The House Oversight Committee has an agreement with the Treasury Department to allow access to documents that are related to Biden and his family, including Hunter Biden. James Comer says it doesn't look good for Biden. The investor who predicted the fall of Lehman Brothers in 2008 is predicting the next bank to fall after Silicon Valley Bank collapsed this week. Young adults continue to collapse and die suddenly, many who are healthy athletes. Several such disturbing reports have recently come from Europe. And as our thoughts turn to the skies for answers, we may just see some things that we can't explain. Okay, let's get into it. A Russian fighter jet hit a U.S. military drone over the Black Sea on March 14th in an incident that could further escalate international tensions. Two Russian Su-27 planes tried to take down the U.S. Reaper drone, which was flying over the Black Sea. One of the Russian aircraft struck the propeller, apparently, after dropping fuel on the drone, and it flew in front of it in an apparent attempt to disable the drone. U.S. Air Force General James B. Hecker, who was the commander of U.S. Air Forces Europe and Air Forces Africa, said in a statement that the drone was conducting routine operations in international airspace when it was intercepted and hit by a Russian aircraft. Hecker noted that U.S. and allied aircraft will continue to operate in international airspace. While the White House spokesman John Kirby called the incident unsafe and unprofessional, other U.S. officials stated that the operation was part of a pattern of dangerous actions, and they warned that the aggressive actions could lead to miscalculation and unintended escalation. Kirby added that Joe Biden had been briefed about the incident. However, Russia's defense ministry denied that its planes struck the U.S. drone or were otherwise involved in its downing. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the Russian fighters did not use their onboard weapons, they did not come into contact with the UAV, and they returned safely to their home airfield. Moscow's ambassador to Washington said in his country that he viewed the incident as provocation. Anatoly Anatov, the ambassador, who was summoned to the U.S. State Department to a meeting, called the discussion constructive. He also added that the issue of possible consequences for Moscow was not raised. In a new move in the Biden family investigation, House Republicans finally will receive access to Joe Biden's foreign banking documents. During an interview with Sean Hannity, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer announced that his committee came to an agreement with the Treasury Department to allow access to documents that are related to Biden and his family, including Hunter Biden. Comer said, "We just got word that Treasury said they will give us access." He also tweeted that, "We've now got the receipts and it doesn't look good for the Bidens and their associates." News of the agreement came hours after the committee subpoenaed more bank records from the Bank of America. The subpoenas targeted all financial records from three of Hunter Biden's business associates dating from January 20th, 2009 to the present. And in another interview with Maria Bartiromo, James Comer talked about other new bank documents that they obtained over the past 2 weeks.
Well, we've had a very good 2 weeks, Maria. We are finally having people cooperate with us. I think we all know the Biden administration stonewalling. Janet Yellen is stonewalling, not turning over the bank violations. But fortunately, since we've last spoken, we actually have bank records in hand. We have individuals who are working with our committee. In the last 2 weeks, we've met with either these individuals personally or with their attorneys. And that would be 4 individuals who had ties in with the Biden family on their various schemes around the world. So now we have in hand documents that show just exactly how the Biden family was getting money from the Chinese Communist Party.
While Comer called the documents very concerning, he emphasized that now we have a lot stronger case in court.
The Biden attorney, Abby Lowell, and the Biden administration has been stonewalling us because when I requested that information 2 weeks ago versus today, because of what we have in hand now, we have a lot stronger case in court for why we need these documents that the Biden family is withholding and that the government's withholding. So they have unintentionally helped our case in our quest to get these documents to where we can give the American people the truth and the transparency that they deserve out of their leadership in Washington.
He also went into details explaining what the bank records exactly show.
And what it appears is there were a lot of transfers from account to account to account, many transfers on the same day. That's probably one reason they received so many suspicious activity reports, which are the bank violations from the banks. The banks would look at this like, well, they must be laundering money or something. I don't necessarily think they were laundering money, Maria. It looks to me like they were trying to hide the source of that money, and the source was the Chinese Communist Party. So my question to the Bidens when I get that opportunity is, if you're conducting legitimate business activities, why so many transfers? Why were you trying to hide the source of that money?
Robert Kiyosaki, who is a Wall Street analyst and investor who predicted the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008, has revealed what bank he thinks will collapse next after Silicon Valley Bank shut its doors this week. Kiyosaki said that the problem is the bond market. And my prediction, I called Lehman Brothers years ago, and I think the next bank to go is Credit Suisse because the bond market is crashing. Kiyosaki further explained how the bond market, which is the economy's biggest problem, will put the U.S. in serious trouble. He noted that the U.S. dollar is losing its dominance in the world right now. They're going to print more and more and more of this. Additionally, he expressed concern over pension plans and individual retirement accounts in the current market environment. He added that bank bailouts will have the greatest impact on the American taxpayer. So how should we prepare? Despite hyperinflation, Kiyosaki recommended looking into gold and silver investments. Kiyosaki suggested that the Fed and the FDIC is signaling hyperinflation, which makes gold and silver even better. He explained they're going to spread more and more of this fake money, and that's what the Fed and the FDIC is signaling. We're going to print as much of this as possible to keep the crash from accelerating, but they're the guys who are causing it. In Scotland, a 15-year-old boy suddenly collapsed and died on a soccer field on Tuesday. According to the local news, the boy suffered a medical incident on a nearby football pitch at a high school in Edinburgh. A representative from the police in Scotland told a news outlet that there are no suspicious circumstances surrounding the death, even though the emergency responders were called to the school. He tragically died. While the accident went viral on social media across the UK and in other countries, many have raised concerns on what appears to be a rise in the number of sudden deaths, particularly among young people and especially athletes who are usually believed to be among the healthiest people. Earlier this month, a 14-year-old English girl died after suffering a cardiac arrest in gym class. However, her friends also believed that she had no previous medical conditions. In February, a 17-year-old boy from Thailand collapsed while attending a soccer academy in England. According to the reports, he was found unresponsive on February 12th, and he was hospitalized until February 14th when he died. Also in January, a 19-year-old woman from Macclesfield, England, who had been described as healthy, died from cardiac arrest. Even though it may seem obvious to most of us, please let us know in the comments what you think is causing these sudden deaths. In a landmark case over abortion rights in Poland, a Warsaw court issued a community service sentence to Polish activist Justyna Wojciechowska on Tuesday, ruling that she was guilty of providing pregnancy termination pills. Along with Malta, the Polish anti-abortion laws are among the strictest in Europe. They allow termination only in cases of incest, rape, and health risks for the mother. Helping a woman obtain an abortion is also illegal. According to the Facebook page of the pressure group Abortion Dream Team, of which she is a member, Wojciechowska claimed in court that she had sent pills to a woman who was a victim of domestic violence. The woman had contacted the abortion line asking for help in ending her pregnancy. Wojciechowska was referred to the case by activists, and she then mailed drugs that she already had at home. Upon finding out, the woman's partner contacted the police, who seized the pills. Wojciechowska claimed, "The pills, which I had for my personal use and which I had sent to Anya, are the safest way to terminate a pregnancy in Poland at the moment. She added that, "I didn't want Anya to risk her life by taking dangerous steps since a solution is so easy and medically safe." Amnesty International and campaigners call the case the first of its kind in Europe. The former House Transportation Committee Chairman Peter DeFazio sounded the alarm over China's control of the shipping industry. He warned that China could weaponize its dominance against the United States. Currently, China controls a large percentage of shipping vessels and equipment, while the United States lags behind. DeFazio denounced the decision to grant China full trade rights at the end of the 20th century, calling it a mistake. Back then, the United States signed several free trade agreements, including NAFTA, which greatly reduced U.S. tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods. DeFazio explained that NAFTA and most other such agreements benefited other nations far more than they benefited the U.S. However, he considers the United States' decision to grant China full trade rights to be more alarming than NAFTA. In 1979, the United States and China normalized diplomatic and trade relations. Their trade relations had been frozen since the communist takeover of China in 1949. In turn, this resulted in an abrupt rise in trade between the two countries, which ultimately helped China become a global power. DeFazio noted that proponents of giving trade rights to China thought that China would democratize, but it didn't. The United States remains the world's largest economy, but China is close behind, and China's economy is growing more rapidly than the U.S. economy. DeFazio highlighted the fact that 3 major shipping companies control 95% of U.S.-Asia shipping. The United States controls and owns only 85 of approximately 50,000 shipping vessels on Earth. This huge lack of control could have serious consequences. As an example of this consequence, DeFazio pointed to the Gulf War, in which the United States had to borrow foreign ships for the Gulf War. DeFazio asserted that China's dominance over shipping means that it can track most U.S. cargo, including U.S. military cargo. He also raised the issue of the Chinese-manufactured cranes that, through the software installed on the cranes, the Chinese Communist Party could spy on American cargo. So he warned that if the United States doesn't increase its control over shipping, then China could weaponize its dominance against America. DeFazio also noted that the U.S. tariff rate, on average, is the lowest in the world at 3.4% on average. He urged the U.S. Congress to reconsider its trade relation with China. A former Navy pilot called on Congress to investigate unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, which are also known as UFOs in the United States. Ryan Graves, who is an advocate and the founder of the organization called Americans for Safe Aerospace, spent about 11 years in the Navy flying F-18s, which is an advanced fighter plane. He was also a flight instructor. He and the other members of his team have been dealing with the UAP phenomenon for years, but they have never received a definitive answer for it. Talking about his personal experiences, he stated that at first, the object showed up as contacts on our radar, contacts on our camera system, until eventually we were seeing them with our eyeballs. For example, he said that once 2 aircraft from my squadron were flying side by side, and one of these objects went right between the aircraft. He explained that his squad member described the object as a large gray or black cube inside of a clear sphere. Graves also urged Americans to consider UFOs from a first principle perspective, because if we wrap it into all that context about little green men, we're going to be barking up the wrong tree. Also, according to Graves, these objects at times appeared to be stationary, but they do not behave like tethered balloons. This is because they can move at extremely high speeds. The pilot believed that there are 2 basic explanations for what these objects could be. We could consider that it's a matter of national security, or we could consider them to be a matter of scientific inquiry and curiosity. He added that once we start looking a little bit more closely into our airspace, some things are going to pop out that we weren't expecting to see. Senator Marco Rubio also said that UFOs are a risk to national security. However, the media still does not provide a safe environment for pilots and others to speak about their experiences with UFOs. Graves asserted that, "I've talked to a lot of pilots who have had some pretty powerful experiences that have really shaken them. They don't want to go and share that on what we would loosely consider your talking head media setup. They just don't feel safe still doing it." So the Navy pilot called on government agencies to break down their separate silos and to begin sharing their information and offering it forward for the good of the public. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore from YouTube. So please follow us on Telegram, Gab, Getter, True Social, and on Ganjing World for the latest updates. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.